I booked a last-minute trip to Greece for a month to go all on my own, with only a backpack, to the stunning Cyclades group of islands in the Aegean Sea. I island hopped and stumbled across some amazing beaches, Greek food, towns, sunsets, and of course, met up with the locals. The second island I stayed at was Paros, and I completely fell in love with Lefkes, a charming traditional village in Greece, whilst staying overnight for 4 nights. First researching going to Greece, I assumed that you could island hop from each different group of islands because there are many groups of different Greek islands. I was thinking that you could hop from Zante and then go on a short ferry ride across the sea all the way over to Crete, and then go on another short ferry ride over to the Cyclades and go wherever you wanted to. But it doesn't work like that. Lefkes has 500 people living there. Most tourists visit Lefkes during the day. I decided to stay for 4 nights overnight in the heart of the village because I thought it was stunning, and I couldn't find any Airbnbs in Paros because that is the capital of Paros, which is probably the main reason. But it ended up being an accidental, incredible experience, and the locals were super friendly and just so kind and gave me recommendations for walks, treks, telling me about what they love to do in the summer and how many tourists they've seen so far and why they love their village, and it was really sweet. When all the tourists leave for the day, it was lovely because I had the whole place practically to myself, so I could really walk around the beautiful white cobbled streets. They were all interlinking, and it was just so fun to wander and get lost. And I made sure I knew where my Airbnb was because I pinned it, and I stumbled across little squares, and they had such traditional Greek colours, beautiful squares of overhanging trees and seating areas, and cafes of really friendly locals who recommended different foods and drinks and traditional Greek food. Lefkes used to be the capital of Paros until Paros became the capital. The first residents of Lefkes were from Crete, and they were immigrants. So they travelled from Crete to Lefkes capital and settled on the village, on the mountain, in order to be protected by the pirates. Lefkes was the main thoroughfare when there were a lot of pirates around, and it was a place to hide in amongst cobbled streets in the squares, and it was on top of a hill, so it was easy to see pirates coming towards you, and it was a protected capital city. The path is thousands of years old, and it was really quite something. It was a bit like the yellow brick road, but not yellow, not made of brick, so maybe it wasn't quite like the yellow brick road, but it was made of Peruvian marble, and it was a bit more worn in certain places, but most of the time it was really still intact, considering how old the path is. And it was a proper cobbled path that leads all the way to the beach. Ordinary farmers used to tread, and it was a great means of getting from villages in Paros to the capital of Lefkes and transporting different goods, tradesmen, shepherds, gazing on the views around. And I guess when you walk it, you can imagine what it would have been like, because all of those different types of people would have been walking to and from different villages, carrying different things and getting to the capital of Lefkes. You really experience firsthand what they would have smelled and seen, and basically you enjoy the walk for what it is. But it's also great knowing its history and that's what is really attractive and really romantic. Parian marble is what made the Venus de Milo as well, which is in the Louvre in Paris. So I think Parian marble was used in a lot of different things, and I noticed Parian marble on different islands and museums and used like objects, and it gets around. I really would recommend doing the entire walk because it's really beautiful throughout the start to the finish. It doesn't dip off in any sort of way at any time. It's super worth it, and it's not overwhelmingly long. You start off in like beautiful olive groves, and you've got wildflowers, and obviously whilst you're walking the Parian marble on the cobbled footpath where lots of different people used to walk, you go over little bridges which are very charming with streams rolling and bubbling underneath. I feel like I'm really selling it. There is one steep uphill climb, but it would be manageable. It's manageable for families, and I did see one family walking there when I was walking back, because I walked all the way there and then I walked all the way back again, which for me was manageable, but it does take 2.5 hours at least, 2.5 to 3 hours. Then you walk further down and walk into the Greek village of Prodromos, and then later on Marpissa village, which is super traditional in Greek, and they're really not busy, so you can take photographs and really enjoy the place for what it is. And if you feel like going back, there are bus stops there if you feel like you've had enough at one point and you need to go back, or you don't have enough water on you. I started the trek by getting something for lunch from the bakery in Lefkes, which is super sweet, and making sure that you have enough water on you, because what you want to do is avoid the middle day sun, because it really does get hot and you want to start early enough so you avoid that. I also used All Trails, which was an app I found for trekking, and it was really helpful because I used it on different islands in Greece, and it allowed me to kind of find different trails that maybe weren't necessarily advertised online. There are also traditional whitewashed houses and Venetian architecture in Lefkes. There's a beautiful church which you can actually see from every different angle standing in the village of Lefkes. It's from the 15th century, and it's called the Church of Agia Triada, and it's the main church in the village, and it's made of white marble, and it really is stunning because you walk up to it and it's quite a large feature and really impressive, well worth visiting that, as well as the squares, which are really something. There are no cars allowed in Lefkes. You do walk around by foot, but I did stumble across motorbikes, just people owned motorbikes and bikes, and saw some really amazing opportunities for photography. It was very much a village where you can experiment with photos because it's so whitewashed and traditionally Greek. It was really a good base from both. I would say the transport links from Lefkes are really good, and the buses / coaches, they are coaches, are great on every island anyway, but on Paros, because it is a big island, the transport is really reliable and comfortable and cheap, which is what you want. There is a main bus stop in Lefkes, and it's right at the beginning of the village where cars are still allowed, but when you get slightly more into the heart of the village, you are only allowed to walk around, and it is all on foot, so it really means you don't have to worry about motorbikes. The main bus stop goes from Lefkes to Parikia to Lefkes, so you can go back, which is always a good thing. And you can go from Lefkes to Drios, which is another village on Paros, and you can go from Lefkes to Nousa, which is also a good place to stay overnight. It's a bit bigger than Lefkes, a bit smaller than Parikia, which is the capital, but Noosa is really worth going to. It was a highlight of my time, because once you go there you can kind of change at bus stops and go somewhere else, go visit a beach. For one of my days I went from Lefkes to Noosa, and then Noosa to Climbers beach, and it was a beach completely out the way, but it was stunning, super busy. I had to clamber over different rocks to get to where I wanted to sit, and I actually stayed in an Airbnb in Lefkes, right in the heart of the village, and it was super perfect for me. It was simple, had a shower, had a bed. I don't need anything else other than that. And it was a traditional Greek, like, outbuilding house. And Paul, the guy who was the son of the guy who owned the Airbnb, I didn't meet the man who owned the Airbnb, I met Paul, his son. So he actually met me at the bus stop and showed me through the village, and was fluent in English, has lived in Lefkes all his life, so had really great recommendations, and was super friendly, super lovely, and I felt comfortable straight away, because as a solo female traveller, I have to be able to pick up vibes and make sure I'm looking out for myself. And he offered me water, which was very kind, and a balcony area where I could read and sit, and there was grapes overhanging, which was super sweet, and the Airbnb was great. It was really comfortable, I slept really well, and each day in the morning I walked outside and I was right in the heart of Lefkes. Noosa and Parikia are the main areas tourists stay in the summer. Noosa was really stunning. Super beautiful harbour side. There was little fish in the water and boats bobbing up and down in the harbour side, little like seats, blue seats, and I just fell in love. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and any questions I'll be happy to answer. Not that I'm an expert, but I did do a fair bit of research on Lefkes. I arrived in Greece deciding I wanted to go to Greece 2 weeks before going to Greece, so a lot of the research did happen whilst in Greece.